I remember the first time I stepped into Skyrim. I looked at that mountain in the distance and thought, can I actually go there? And I could. It felt like magic. But fast forward to 2026, and when a developer says, our map is 4 times bigger than our last game, I don't feel excitement. I feel exhausted. We've entered the era of the disposable galaxy. Games are getting bigger, maps are stretching into infinity, but the soul is being spread so thin you can barely see it. We're being sold quantity as a substitute for quality, and frankly, I'm tired of being a digital janitor cleaning up map markers. Today, we're diving into why the open world genre is suffering from a massive case of gigantism, and why bigger almost always means worse. Let's talk about the Ubisoftification of gaming. This isn't just a dig at one company, it's a virus that's infected the whole industry. The design philosophy has shifted from discovery to checklists. In a real open world, curiosity should be your compass. But in modern games, the UI does the playing for you. You aren't exploring a forest, you're following a GPS line to a yellow dot to clear a camp you've already cleared 50 times. Technically, this is called procedural content padding. It's easy for a studio to copy-paste an outpost, change the color of the tents, and call it new content. But as a gamer, it's soul-crushing. It turns a legendary adventure into a second job where the pay is just a slightly better pair of virtual boots. Size is a vanity metric. If you have 1,000 planets, but 990 of them are barren rocks with the same 3 abandoned rabs, you don't have a big game. You have a big vacuum. Look at the Yakuza series, specifically Like a Dragon. The maps are tiny, just a few city blocks, but every corner has a story, a weird minigame, a restaurant, or a meaningful encounter. That's density. Modern AAA games are obsessed with seamless travel and no loading screens, but they forget to give us a reason to travel in the first place. When I'm riding a horse or flying a ship for 5 minutes through nothing just to get to the next mission, that's not immersion. That's a developer trying to hide that their game is actually only 10 hours long, padded out to 60 with travel time. It's a waste of my life, man. The best open-world moments are the ones the developers didn't script. It's when a dragon fights a giant in Skyrim while you're just trying to pick flowers. That's emergent gameplay. But as worlds get bigger, they become more rigid. To make these massive maps work, developers rely on zones and level gating. If I wander too far, the enemies are suddenly level 50 and I'm level 5. My freedom is an illusion. We're seeing a shift toward the theme park design. You can look at the rides, but you have to stay on the path. Elden Ring proved that you don't need quest logs or markers if your world design is actually intuitive. But most studios are too scared to let the player get lost. They treat us like toddlers in a massive $200 million playpen. Why is this happening? Follow the money. A big world justifies a $70 price tag. More importantly, it justifies live service mechanics. If a game is 100 hours long, you're more likely to stay in their ecosystem, check their store, and buy time savers. Think about that term, time savers. They are literally selling you the solution to the boring game they designed. It's engagement over enjoyment. They don't want you to have a memorable 15-hour experience. They want you to have a mediocre 200-hour habit. We've traded the sense of wonder for the fear of missing out, FOMO. We play because we want to clear the map, not because we're having fun. And that, my friends, is the death of art in gaming. So, what's the fix? It's simple. Curation. Give me a world I can memorize. Give me landmarks that tell a story without a text log. I want to see more games like Outer Wilds, where the world is tiny, but every single inch is a puzzle. I want more Ghost of Tsushima, where the UI is integrated into the world itself. We need to stop praising square kilometers and start demanding meaningful minutes. I'd take a dense 20-hour masterpiece over a 100-hour ocean-deep puddle-wide slog any day of the week. Because at the end of the day, my time is the only resource I can't get back, and I'm done wasting it on empty horizons.
Stay away, my lord.
Here's a technical pill that's incredibly hard to swallow. Game worlds have gotten 10 times bigger, but the people living in them have gotten 10 times dumber. We're in 2026. We have dedicated AI cores in our hardware, yet NPCs in most modern open worlds are still just animated assets. They don't have lives, they just have pathing. But we know it doesn't have to be this way. Rockstar Games dropped the mic back in 2018 with Red Dead Redemption 2, and honestly, the rest of the industry is still trying to pick up the pieces. In RDR2, the AI isn't just window dressing, it's a living ecosystem. If you follow a random NPC in Saint Denis, they have a genuine daily routine. They have breakfast, they go to work, they socialize, they might get drunk at the saloon, and they head home. And the interaction? If you pull a gun, the reaction isn't some generic crouch animation. The AI calculates the situation: fear, aggression, the presence of law. This is what we call persistent world simulation. The real issue is that developers today spend their entire budget on texture resolution and map square footage, but they completely ignore social AI. In Red Dead 2, the world reacts to you. If you don't wash, people comment on your smell. If you get into a bar fight, the shopkeeper across the street might remember your face days later and tell you to stay out of trouble. That is using AI to create organic immersion. When I play these massive, empty, modern worlds, I feel a massive ludonarrative dissonance. How am I supposed to believe I'm a hero in a living kingdom when the citizens feel like cardboard cutouts that despawn the moment I turn the camera? RDR2 proved that the secret isn't the size of the map, it's the depth of the life you put into it. Without that, your game is just a beautiful museum, and museums are meant for looking, not for living. And then we have the narrative side of this bigness. To fill these massive gaps, writers are forced to create hundreds of generic quests. You know the ones: my sheep are gone, go kill 5 wolves. But the real problem is the diluted choice. When a game is this big, the developers can't possibly account for your choices affecting the entire map. It's too complex. So they give you the illusion of choice. You decide the fate of a village, but when you come back 20 hours later, nothing has changed because that village needs to remain static for other generic quests. Compare that to a tighter game like The Witcher 2, not even the third, where a choice could literally change the entire second act of the game. Modern open worlds have traded consequence for breadth. They want to make sure you don't miss any content, so they make sure your choices don't actually lock any doors. But if no doors ever lock, then opening them doesn't feel special. We're just tourists on a rail, even if the rail is 1,000 miles long. Maybe I'm just getting old. Maybe I don't have the patience I had back in the Morrowind days. But I don't think that's it. I think we, as a community, have accepted big as a synonym for good for too long. But I want to hear from you. What was the last open world game that actually made you feel like an explorer? And which one was the biggest chore you've ever played? Drop it in the comments. Let's have a real talk about where our hobby is going. Thanks for hanging out. If you're tired of the bloat and just want honest takes, hit that sub button. I'll see you in a world that, hopefully, is a bit smaller and a lot better. Peace.